Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Operations Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 16th, 2024 to order. This being our first committee meeting, Operations Committee meeting of 2024. I'd like to welcome any of the new members to the committee. Oh, we're all the same, so I guess that doesn't matter. As we gather here this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territories of the First Nations. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our support for their rich history. We are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Just take a moment to, Evelyn, has roll call been taken?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you for that. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in any of the matters before us this afternoon? Seeing none, we have one, I would entertain a motion for the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on November 14th, 2023. Moved by the member from Laurentian Valley, seconded by the member from McNabb-Braeside. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. We have one delegation listed on our agenda from the town of Petawawa, and I would ask Mr. Perkins to introduce our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the delegation from the town of Petawawa. Sitting in the back, we have the CAO, Scott Randolph, and also Brandon Harkins. He's the PEng with JP2G. And Chris Mantha, the newly appointed Director of Public Works and Engineering with the town of Petawawa, will do the presentation for us. So thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, and welcome, and I will turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to all the committee members for having us here today. It's a pleasure to be here in County Council chambers, and my first slide shows some of that rich history that we have between the town of Petawawa and the county of Renfrew, dating back to the late 1800s. It's been a partnership for a long time, and certainly through the course of this slideshow, we're hoping that that partnership can continue as we look at possible changes or proposed changes to Murphy Road. So thanks again for having us. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you've already met our delegation. We have Mayor Gary Service, Scott Randolph, the CAO from the town of Petawawa. Brandon Harkins is my technical source from JP2G in case I run into any problems. And I am Chris Mantha, Director of Public Works. Thanks very much again for having us. There we go. Okay, so Murphy Road, County Road 37. First slide, just showing Murphy Road in its current configuration and talking about some of the current conditions that we face with Murphy Road. So I'm sure everyone is familiar. Murphy Road is a two-way arterial route that flows from Highway 17 into the town of Petawawa, and it's a major link between the Trans-Canada Highway and town. Murphy Road in its present configuration is showing significant signs of pavement distress in the form of alligator cracking, transverse cracking, potholes, and there is some wheel rutting, which shows some evidence of base failure. There is no set storm system on Murphy Road. It's comprised of dry wells in its current form, and also overland drainage through ditches and culverts. And of course, when you're not properly gathering and controlling stormwater, it can also degrade your subbase, which I'm sure that's part of the reason why Murphy Road is starting to shows those signs of fatigue, as mentioned before. We also have issues with Murphy Road when it comes to pedestrian access. So we have Bedard and Nuthatch that currently have sidewalks that end at Murphy, but there's nowhere for the pedestrians to go when they get to Murphy Road. And we also have pedestrians coming out of the Marquee subdivision, and they're forced to walk on a gravel shoulder, and they lack safe crossing to access an existing paved sidewalk at Hemlock Street. So this slide again is just showing some of the current conditions and what we hope to do with Murphy Road. This is just an aerial view showing the Trans-Canada Highway down here and Petawawa Boulevard up here. And the focus behind this slide was to show just how much pressure there is on Murphy Road from the standpoint of vehicular traffic and also pedestrian traffic. Murphy Road is it's a connector from the highway as well as it's a road connector for many residential areas, including Marquee, Doran, Nuthatch.
That's me. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, better? Echoing, gone. Okay, so it's a collector for many residential areas, as you see on this picture. Marquee, Doran, Nuthatch, Bedard, and Herman Street areas. As well, we do have the new Radke subdivision that's starting in here, which will, of course, add more vehicular and pedestrian traffic to Murphy Road. So the proposed urbanization, what we're looking at doing is the county last year did the rural section coming from Portage Road into Woodland, and that was a perfect cross section for that style of rural road with 3.5 meter lane and a 1 meter paved shoulder. What the town is looking at is a proposed urbanization coming from Woodland and moving towards Petawawa Boulevard with a 3.25 meter lane. We used a similar lane width on Portage Road, and it seemed to work really well. A little bit narrower road tends to calm traffic, gives an illusion that it's a little tighter, and it slows traffic down. So I think I'd like to keep with that, and also there is a cost savings because your road isn't quite as wide. So it would be a semi-urban cross-section with paved shoulders from Woodland to Doran on the north side of Murphy Road, and a concrete sidewalk on the south side from Marquee Drive to Doran. And then moving from there, there would be an urban cross-section with barrier curb and gutter and multi-use pathway from Petawawa Boulevard to Doran Road. We're proposing a PXO crossing at Nuthatch Drive and Roy Street for access to the multi-use pathway on the north side of Murphy Road. Double lift paving throughout the project with single lift paved shoulders. And JP2G's been working with the town to look at lengthening of the turn lanes to enhance safety on the roadway. Benefits of urbanization. Murphy Road is a main entrance to the town of Petawawa with built-up residential areas feeding onto Murphy Road and accessing the town's commercial areas. The current configuration of Murphy Road really, it may have suited in the past, but it really doesn't suit the present, and it certainly doesn't suit the future when we look at the growth that we're seeing in the town. We have poor active transportation options, lack of storm sewer. The current road construction is not built to accommodate heavy vehicular traffic with an average daily traffic of approximately 3,000 vehicles per day. That number was taken from, I believe, 2022, so we can only assume that traffic volumes will go up as more of those residential areas surrounding Murphy Road come online, as I mentioned there with the Radke subdivision. The other thing with a properly constructed roadway with 2 lifts and stormwater control is the road will last longer, and then you have better options for perpetual pavement. As we all know, it's nice to be able to shave off 1 lift of a roadway and put a lift back rather than pulverizing and trying to make it work with only 1 lift. So those are some of the benefits of urbanization for Murphy Road. Now I'm going to take a little tour. I hope everybody can see this, and I'll try to talk fairly loud if I move away from the podium. So basically, we're going to take a drive together coming from Woodland, headed east to the boulevard. This is the north side of Murphy Road. This is the south side of Murphy Road. So if we imagine where the county left off at Woodland, it would be the exact same cross-section carrying through. The only difference would be the lane width is going from 3.5 to 3.25, but it's still a 1 meter paved shoulder, and it's still a rural design. But there's more safety for pedestrians, of course, with the paved shoulder, and it's better for the road construction and cuts down on maintenance when you have a paved shoulder. And in this picture, just showing a typical cross-section with the lane width and the 1 meter paved shoulder. Very simple, rural cross-section. All right, now we're moving on to coming into town now. So we're coming to Marquee, and this is where we're looking at I would say a semi-urban cross-section. So we're continuing the paved shoulder on the north side. Continuing the paved shoulder on the north side. There is an old existing asphalt sidewalk here that we are hoping to keep and continue to use, which provides pedestrian traffic on the north side. And then from Marquee right to Doran, we're proposing a new monolithic sidewalk down the entire south side of the road, and that will bring pedestrian traffic out of Marquee and down to Doran Road. Okay, next slide. Again, it's showing the paved shoulder on the north side and the monolithic sidewalk on the south side. Again, allowing pedestrian traffic to move safely as they're coming down towards the boulevard. Okay, and then as we get to Doran Road, or Doran Street, sorry, we see the addition of our multi-use pathway. And this multi-use pathway will line up with the existing multi-use pathway on Civic Center Road. So if you cross the boulevard and you get onto Civic Center Road, you would join right onto that multi-use pathway on the north side. So works really nice. Should come together very well, and it's nice. It's safe for pedestrians, and also gives a lot of options for active transportation. And there's the cross section for that style of road. Again, it's got the paved shoulder on the north side with the existing sidewalk, and then a new sidewalk on the south side with a monolithic curb to carry traffic from or pedestrians from Marquee down to Doran. Okay, simple slide again, showing the multi-use pathway on the north side proceeding down to John Street, and we're making our way to the boulevard. Okay, and there's a cross-section to show you what we're proposing in here. Now we're up to, because we're past Doran now, we're looking at a full urbanization. So we have barrier curb and gutter on both sides of the road and the multi-use pathway on the north side. Okay. Okay, carrying on, we're still moving down towards the boulevard, multi-use pathway on the north side, and this is where we're proposing a PXO crossing. Because between Nuthatch and Bedard, currently there's no way for pedestrians to access the multi-use pathway. There's no sidewalk on the south side. So we're proposing a sidewalk from Bedard to Nuthatch, brings people across PXO. They can access the multi-use pathway, or they can also access the interior streets. That would be Roy Street, John Street, bringing pedestrian traffic down to Herman, which would take them to the school. So that's why that was the best location for PXO. It's also proper distances. You have to look at where you're putting these PXOs. They can't be too close from an existing stop condition, so that really was the best place to put it. Okay, and there's showing Bedard Boulevard with the sidewalk going towards Nuthatch, which brings you across the PXO at Roy. We had thought about putting the PXO here, but it really didn't make a lot of sense because you can't access the interior streets. You would just be accessing them up, and then you would either have to walk up to Roy or down down towards the boulevard. So Roy Street seemed like the more logical place for a PXO. And this diagram is simply showing, again, it's a fully urbanized cross-section with the multi-use pathway on the north side and a concrete sidewalk on the south side between Bedard and Nuthatch. All right, and now we have the road carrying on. We're still headed east towards the boulevard. multi-use pathway on the north side. And now we're approaching Butler, where we have stop conditions for pedestrians to cross. So there's no requirement for a PXO crossing at that intersection. And the last one. Now there is a little pinch point here. Just disregard that. Brandon told me it's a computer thing and he's going to fix it. So we're not actually shaping the road with an hourglass figure. It'll be taken out of there. So, but that just shows as we proceed with the multi-use pathway on the north side. Down to Murphy Road, we have extended the turn lane somewhat for easier queuing for traffic to get into their lanes and to make things as safe as possible. And that, in a nutshell, is the idea behind the urbanization of Murphy. Now, this design that you've seen today, I think it's been through about three different looks or itinerations, if you want to call it that, simply because there were a lot of challenges with Murphy Road to address shortcomings for pedestrian traffic. Because we're trying to do an urbanization with the road as it is, not go to changing the entire alignment or the look of the road. We need to make it work and fit in with what we have to work with. So that's, I think we got a pretty good design though. And it certainly will allow for active transportation and a lot more safety for pedestrians, especially school-age children who are walking on Murphy Road. Now we come to the money aspect. So, the proposal that the town has put together is looking at a $2.45 million investment by the town of Petawawa, and I highlighted some of the costs that the town would be looking after. 31% of the cost of road construction, 100% for sanitary, water main upgrades, 100% of the cost for the PXO, 100% of the cost for the multi-use pathway, and also the concrete sidewalks, and 43% of contracted min, contingency, design, and tendering. So that's the proposed investment by the town. And the next one would be the proposed investment from the county of Renfrew of $3.29 million. And again, this hasn't been approved by county council, so it's only a proposal. And some of the highlights, as shown here, 69% of the road construction costs would be are proposed to be covered by the county. One section of the storm, the granular road bed, paving costs for the new curbs and gutters for the urbanization, and then 57% of contracted min, contingency, design, and tendering. So it works to about a 60-40 split, 60 to the county and 40 to the town, as proposed here. And then there's one other question that I put at the end, because it is a big question, and there's a lot of money to invest in Murphy Road, and maybe it's time to think about the transfer of this road once it's upgraded from the county of Renfrew to the town of Petawawa. So we have had county staff and town staff have had previous meetings looking at not only the urbanization of Murphy Road or the proposed urbanization. We've also looked at a couple of different cost sharing scenarios. And then as part of those discussions, we did consider, we spoke about a consideration for transferring the entire 2.6 kilometers, which would be from Petawawa Boulevard to Portage Road. Again, I want to stress the town staff have not taken the possible transfer of County Road 37 before town council. It to this stage remains a discussion at the staff level. The $3.29 million proposed investment from the county would be a one-time capital investment to upgrade the road in cooperation with the town. And if a road transfer agreement was reached, the county would have no further maintenance or capital costs associated with Murphy Road. And that's pretty much the gist of my presentation. I didn't want to go over 15 minutes. Evelyn told me 15 minutes was a critical time frame. But I think I've covered it in a nutshell. Just to conclude, I have the impression from the staff level meetings that the county and the town agree that Murphy Road really, it probably doesn't suit very well to do a shave and pave. And yes, it would address, I guess, the condition of the pavement, and it would be a Band-Aid, but it really doesn't address the shortcomings of the road as it pertains to the needs of the community, the needs of the town, and the growth of the town. And that's the biggest reason why we're here today, is to look for a partnership in upgrading this road to a better road, a better designed road, a better constructed road, not only for vehicular and truck traffic, where the road will last longer. It will also give us better options for pavement renewal in the future. But I think even more important than that, Murphy Road is a main entrance to our town. It's a main entrance to town based on the residential areas surrounding it, and also it's a main entrance for people coming in to use our commercial districts. And Murphy Road really does have flaws when it comes to safety for pedestrians, safety for students, and for school-age children, and also in its current configuration, there's no active transportation component. So that's why the town has put together this presentation. I hope it helped. I hope the slides were visible enough. I was worried about that, but I think they came through pretty good. And I look forward to taking any questions at this time. Thank you very much for hearing me. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Mantha. Quite detailed and gave us a lot of information. I guess I would flip this over to, before I ask if there's any questions, flip this back over to staff to see if they have any comments, and to, outside of direction from committee, give us an idea of what might be next steps. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the committee. So as Chris mentioned, we have had multiple meetings with the Town of Petawawa staff to discuss this item. One of the key points that you'll draw from Mr. Perkins's report section on this item is the cost to the county. With the previous plan to pulverize and pave, this section would have cost just under $700,000, I believe the number was. So there's a pretty wide gap between urban reconstruction and a rural pulverize and pave. Not saying that urban reconstruction doesn't make sense, but the cost factor has to be taken into consideration there as well.
Thank you for that. Questions from committee? Member from Empire. Yeah, but you go first.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. One, this reminds me of the town of Renfrew a couple of years ago. We did the same thing on Burnstown Road, where they wanted to make that road a town road, in that it had the water, the sewer, and the sidewalks, all that kind of stuff had to do, and we waited a year before we did our portion of it. The second part is the road itself. Speaking from our empire, we put a brand new road in, and then the residents and businesses decided to put gas in, and they dug up our road to make patches to put their utilities in. So to ensure that your road will have water, sewer, cable, gas, all the stuff down there that you're not going to be digging up the day after.
Through the chair, you're absolutely right. So in conjunction with JP2G, any major infrastructure job that the town takes on, we always have a pre-construction meeting with all the utility companies to make sure, for example, if gas, their line may be in, but there could be some valve repairs that they want to do, and it's a great time to do it while the road's being constructed. We would want to make sure that NRTC and Bell Fiber, the 5G upgrades, have been complete in that area. So just as you said, sir, we don't want to be digging up a new road after. And then internally, we would look at the sewer and any water upgrades that would need to be done, so that they're done at the right time, so that in 2 years, you're absolutely right, we do not want to be cutting into a brand new road.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to address the last question, or the last point, more than the technical points. What the town is suggesting is actually an interesting scenario, and one we've obviously addressed in Renfrew. We've addressed most recently on Daniel Street in Armpire, where some of our county roads are definitely urban roads. They are meant. They were at a time meant to traverse, or they're meant for vehicles to traverse from the market to the highway. And obviously, as we've seen expansion grow in Armpire, Renfrew, Petawawa, and others, this question is probably going to come up more often than has had before. And as I may have mentioned in a meeting with staff to staff, the county, I'll say, stands in the way of urbanization. Right, we are meant to pave a road the way it is and the way it always was, and what they're suggesting today is creating a streetscape, which we're just not in the business of doing. So all I'll say to that is that we are undergoing a transportation master plan, somewhat of a roads rationalization, that it would be worthy of a conversation to talk about. I guess this downloading. We've talked about uploading to the county quite often. We've never actually talked about downloading roads to the county or to the municipality. So again, it's an interesting concept. But again, open for discussion at council meeting later on, and of course requires your own council to provide direction to go forward. But again, it's something that I think staff is open to entertaining, at least in the long term, for the betterment of those communities who are looking to create streetscapes and to urbanize.
Thank you for that. So I guess back to my second comment at what would be the next steps for us outside of committee direction to staff?
Again, like I mentioned in a previous meeting, I'll start the walk down the path and somebody will follow. So at this point, and I think you'll hear later in the report, is the county, with its current budget and a current long-term financial or asset management plan, has only allocated 600 and some thousand or something like that. 1.6 to this project. The town is suggesting our share of this is 2.9, I think it was. Sorry, I just don't remember every number. 2.6.
3.29.
Okay. Damn it! I'm trying to get a bargain. 2 for 1 deal today. So it's outside of the scope of what we were going to spend. So, Chair, it would be direction of committee, and then at the budget, if we were to do this, it will come at the cost to our asset management plan and maybe to another project if we were to increase our allotment to this project. I mean, not to say we can't, just say we'll have an effect to our long-term, to our asset management plan.
Okay, thanks for that. Anything further from committee members? Warden Nemo.
Thank you. Very quickly, I'm starting to remember if this was an old provincial highway or not, and I don't think so. So is the right-of-way 60 feet instead of 90 feet through most of that corridor?
The right-of-way is 66 feet.
Okay, thank you. And just, if I might, one other question. I didn't see anything about street lights in the design, and I was wondering, given the move towards urbanization.
Mr. Mantha.
Yeah, I can respond to that. So Brandon from JP2G, we actually spoke about street lighting, I believe, last week, and he's looking at. We have all the GPS locations of the lighting as it stands now, and JP2G will conduct a study to make sure that the quantity or the number of lights is appropriate for that road, and if more street lighting was required, it could be dealt with as part of the construction.
Okay, supplementary.
And again, I'm assuming that's 100% to Petawawa, because I don't believe that's something we maintain.
I'm fairly sure that any street lighting upgrades would be through the town, quite similar to multi-use pathways and sidewalks. Yep.
Member from Horton.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I would just question this chamber for the last several years, or maybe even longer, several years since I've been here, has really had concentration and development on the table for Petawawa, and this throws a total different light to the amount of money that was going to be invested in Petawawa going forward, if we chose to go forward where we were headed, with the improvement to the bridge, with improved access to the base. Where does this project put us now to have any light of where we're headed?
Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to committee and to the councillor from Horton. Right now, this doesn't tie into the issues on County Road 52 on Petawawa Boulevard in terms of the in-house design that we have ready for 2 roundabouts, one at the Garrison and one at Dorn. This is a one-off separate entity where the town and our staff got together and just looked at the possibility of urbanizing this for basically for the safety of residents in that area. So it'll have no bearing on what we are trying to attempt on 52 itself. 51, sorry, County Road 51, sorry, my apologies. Burnstown's 52.
Supplementary, please.
Supplementary.
But the issue is, though, it has a great tie to it because the money coming from the county is still the money coming from the county, and there's a considerable amount of money being asked for from this chambers. Where does this project going to fall in line, or are the other projects off the table till this one's finished?
So certainly a question for budget and asset
Chair,
management, but
No,
Mr.
thank
Perkins.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
To
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
to the chair,
yeah.
if I may,
Sorry.
can I just address the issue of the bridge and the roundabouts? We don't need them. I've been authorized to relay that you're welcome to take them off the books.
See, okay. Okay. It still goes back to the whole concept of the county replacing the roads that we have and the growth pressures that we're seeing in different areas of the county. So anything further from committee? Oh, member from Lawrence Valley.
Just a one-off question that if, say you said yes, we'll go ahead and do that, what would be the offset costs to our maintenance of that section?
Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor from Laurentian Valley. Unfortunately, there would be very little savings in this because we're not going to reduce it by one truck, and we're not going to reduce it by an individual who plows that road or does maintenance. There is considerable savings in terms of pothole maintenance and that sort of thing, but it's not in the tens of thousands. The big savings to us is if the town of Petawawa took that road over, then 25 years from now when that road needs to be replaced or whatever, then the county won't be paying for it anymore. But that's a long-term goal. But in terms of short-term, we're not going to reduce our presence in Petawawa in terms of operations and maintenance.
Thanks for that. Okay. Anything further? Seeing none, thank you very much, gentlemen. Now we will move on to Public Works and Engineering Department and the department report, which can be found starting on page 5.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Welcome back for another year. Hope everyone had a good holiday and a safe holiday. So item number 1 here is Phragmites. So attached as Appendix 1 is an email with photos from Miss Wendy Womack. So she's the president and chair of the Carson, Trout, Lapine, and Green and Lakes Association. So she wanted to express her gratitude to the County of Renfrew for their support in controlling Phragmites along County Road 52 in Combermere. And as you'll see from the photos attached, this association is very actively monitoring this. One of the reasons we brought it forward was this is an excellent example of a community group working with the County of Renfrew. There's lots of community groups out there that bring problems to us without solutions, and actually Ms. Womack and her group brought a solution to us, and we were more than happy to help. And as you can see, they're continuing on with it and monitoring it. So it's definitely a success story for us. Item 2 is Highway 60 active transportation lanes. So we've attached as Appendix 2 is a letter from the Ministry of Transportation outlining their proposal to incorporate active transportation lanes to Highway 60 from Killaloe to Algonquin Park. So it's very good news. Item 3 is the Highway 17 traffic counts. So as committee will recall, we did send a letter under the warden's signature to the minister and asked for updated traffic counts. So they actually got back to us from a letter from Director Lewis Tay, the PNs for East Operations Branch of the ministry. And he responded directly to our inquiry, and the updated traffic counts for the Highway 17 corridor should be available in early 2024. So we're looking forward to that, of course. Item 4 is at the November 14th, 2023 Operations Committee meeting, staff advised the Township of Whitewater Region, staff at the Whitewater Region had proposed the implementation of an all-way stop at the crossroads of County Road 61, which is Godfrey Road, and County Road 61, which is Haley Road, to address concerns about speeding in the hamlet of Haley Station. Following the review of the Ontario Traffic Manual, it was determined that an all-way stop was not recommended. County Council defeated the resolution, which is number OPCC 2311-128, that County Council directs staff to advise the Township of Whitewater Region and that the intersection of County Road 61, Haley, and of Godfrey Road, that with Haley Road and the fire lane does not meet the warrants for an all-way stop, and direct staff to review the township with the Township of Whitewater Region and request to provide further information. So subsequent to this, we've had discussions, both our staff and the Whitewater staff. Again, given the fact that under the Ontario Traffic Manual, a four-way stop is not to be used for speed control. So it states that in the manual. So the purpose, the proposed options for us when we met with Mr. Lane from Whitewater Region was there are a number of options available. So closing the entrance to Haley Road from Highway 17, and that would be a township responsibility because it is a township road. Reverting Haley Road back to gravel surface, which would obviously impede traffic again, and that would be a township responsibility. Narrowing Haley Road using road paint, that would be a township responsibility. Installing speed bumps, humps on the township side of Haley Station Road, which would be a township responsibility. Adding rumble strips on the township section of Haley Station, again, another township responsibility. The implementation of digital speed signs, so the signs that you see out and about in the county now that shows your speed ahead. On the township side of that intersection, that would be 100% their cost. On the county side, we do have an enhanced traffic calming policy that we would contribute 50% to each one of those signs. Applying road paint indicating 60 km/h maximum is the township's responsibility with a 50-50 cost on the county side. We've had success with these already in Petawawa, and now this year we've done them in Killaloe as well with the township's support. There is the possibility of hanging an intersection light for those of us that travel in the county that see them on Beeline, that area. This is not a warranted device for that area, but it could be installed, and this is something that we would look at as a cost share with the township because it would be an enhanced traffic safety item. And then the big number would be to revise this intersection and consider a roundabout, which would obviously slow traffic and make the intersection much safer. But that would again, we'd have to go back for a cost share agreement with the town. So right now, the recommended course of action is both parties can agree will be provided at a future meeting. So we are still working with the Township of Whitewater to bring something back. And then item 5 is the Town of Renfrew Fire Dispatch Services. So attached as Appendix 4 is a letter from the Town of Renfrew's Director of Fire and Emergency Services, Fire Chief, outlining their plan to transition fire dispatching services to the Brockville Fire Department effective March 31st, 2024. The Renfrew Fire Department will be concluding its dispatch contract with the County of Renfrew. And then item 6, as we just went through our delegation with the Town of Petawawa, County Road 37, Murphy Road transfer. So on December 7th, our staff went for a meeting, myself, Mr. Kelly, CAO, and Mr. Hanrath, Capital Works Manager, and the Town of Petawawa staff was Mr. Randolph, Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Leon was there from the Director of Finance and Treasury, and Mr. Mantha, Director of Public Works, and Mr. Webster from JP2G. And this was to discuss the County Road 31, originally planned for complete rehabilitation, which Chris did show you on the map, which was spanning from basically Highway 17 all the way to Petawawa Boulevard in the summer of 2023. The project scope was adjusted to 1.2. This decision was influenced by ongoing neighborhood developments along the roadway, prompting collaboration with the town of Petawawa to finalize an urban design for the section between Woodland Crescent and County Road 51. So, the county had undertaken an initial plan to pulverize and pave, as CAO Kelly just alluded to. Basically what I tell people that in this chamber is what you see is what we replace. So, as you know, we have no mechanism for growth or anything like that. But in these opportunities here to work with our municipal partners, it always behooves us to bring it forward. So, again, what I try to tell people is the County of Renfrew works 8 inches deep. We normally come, dig up your road, pulverize or pave it, or we shave it and we pave it, but we put back what you see. So, when we initially undertook this project, the plan was to pulverize and pave it, bring it back to a serviceable condition, again, back to the graphs that you've seen in previous slides that shows what the condition report for a road is and how we redo it and rebuild it over time. So what we would approximately spend there was $690,000. That's what we would have spent on that section that we spoke about this morning. So to rehabilitate, that would be to rehabilitate it to like for like. So the county has now earmarked, we've actually bookmarked 1.537 million for this project based on the benchmark cost for urban reconstruction with nominal storm sewer replacement. However, the town's request, as you've seen, to incorporate the urban cross-section, including storm drainage, has led to an estimated cost of 5.7, of which the county would be responsible for 30.2 million. When we get to questions afterwards, we can certainly discuss further if you like. Item 7 is the town of Arnprior, which is County Road 2. On January 3rd, 2024, Acting Director Taylor Hanrath met with the town of Arnprior staff and concerned residents to discuss a number of issues along County Road 2. So attached as Appendix 5 is an executive summary from the meeting provided by Councillor Lynch. And thank you for that, and thank Taylor for going down there. So apparently it was well received. Item 8 is a pedestrian crossing for County Road 16, which is on Victoria Street in Petawawa. Attached as Appendix 6 is a resolution from the town of Petawawa approving the installation of a pedestrian crossing at the intersection of County Road 16, which is Victoria Street and Wolf Street. So as per county policy PW14, pedestrian crossings and hiking trails on county roads, the proposed crossing is a capital expense and a municipal responsibility. The County of Renfrew shall be responsible for the costs associated with the annual operation and maintenance of the pedestrian crossing and signage, and the local municipality shall be responsible for annual pavement markings associated with the crossing. Recommendation will be presented at a future meeting once the Public Works and Engineering Department staff completes its due diligence. And with that, Chair, I'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Perkins. We'll move back to item number 1, Phragmites. Item number 2, Highway 60 active transportation lanes. Item number 3, Highway 17 traffic counts. Item number 4, the all-way stop, Haley Station Road. Item number 5, the Town of Renfrew Fire Dispatch Services letter. Item number 6, County Road 37, Murphy Road transfer. Item number 7, Town of Arnprior, County Road 2, Daniel Street. Member from Arnprior.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo what the director mentioned, we had a meeting with the town staff, the Public Works. I think there were 6 civilians, I call them, that lived on Daniel Street, as well as Taylor and acting Lisa, inspector, yes, from the OPP. So it was an excellent meeting. It lasted a couple hours. We were at the Next Smith Center. The residents walked away happy that they'd had an opportunity to voice their opinions on what the problems were, and they look forward to any assistance that the county/OPP/town can do to make this road a bit safer. Again, thank you to Taylor being there and having the county at heart. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything further on item 7? Item number 8, pedestrian crossing, County Road 16, Victoria Street, Petawawa. And then I will turn this back to Mr. Perkins for a suggestion.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. At this point, we would like to sever item 9 for the end of the report, after the operations report and the infrastructure report. And we'll return to item 9, which is the departmental draft budget. Please.
Okay, fair enough.
And then item 11 is bylaws.
How about 10?
Item 10, sorry, my apologies. Item 10 is the speed bylaw update, so I'll read the recommendation to get it on the floor. The recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council pass a speed limit bylaw to revise the location of the 60-kilometer-an-hour speed limit on County Road 512, which is Foy Mount Road, currently set from civic address 3467 Foy Mount Road to Miller Road, to reflect civic address 3467 Foy Mount Road to Lake Clear Road, and further that a bylaw 6422 be repealed.
Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Warden Nemo, seconded by the member from Horton. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. So the background here is, if committee will recall, a number of years ago, before Foy Mount Road began its transformation, we had to lower the speed limit. The road condition got to a point where it was unsafe to travel at 80 kilometers an hour, so we passed a bylaw to lower it to 60. So now, thankfully, Mr. Taylor and his team have got 512 completed to Lake Clear, and we'd like to reestablish the speed limit to help the residents in that area.
Thank you for that. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor, and that is carried. Item number 11.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you again to committee. Item 11 is a bylaw to regulate the parking of vehicles on or adjacent to county roadways. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council amend bylaw number 6521 for the regulation of parking along county roads to alter the regulations for parking on County Road 52, Burnstown Road.
Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from Armpire, seconded by the member from McNabb-Brayside. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you, the background here is a request was submitted to us from the Township of McNabb-Brayside, which is attached as Appendix 9, for a no parking zone along a section of County Road 52 in Burnstown Road. Staff have reviewed the area of concern and is in support of restricting parking in this area due to the close proximity to the Burnstown Bridge and County Road 508, which is the Calabogie Road intersection, as well as the narrow lanes that are available due to the presence of guardrails and buildings in the area. The amended bylaw includes no parking on both sides of the County Road 52 and the intersection of County Road 508 to the northern limit of the Burnstown Bridge, being a distance of approximately 250 meters. The Township of McNabb-Brayside will be responsible for enforcement of the no parking zone in accordance to the County of Renfrew's bylaw, and a map showing the location and the proposed restrictions has been attached as Appendix 10. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any comments or questions on the recommendation? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor, and that is carried. And now we will move on to the Capital Works Division report, which can be found on page 52. Mr. Henrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 1 is an information item, Hydro 1 vegetation maintenance. Attached as Appendix CW1 is a project overview map received from Hydro 1 identifying an area within the County of Renfrew where they plan to undertake vegetation management. The project has been registered with the Ministry of Environment for Endangered Species Act, Species at Risk, and will consist of removing danger trees and trimming brush control using a combination of mechanical equipment, hand cutting, and herbicide application. Item number 2 is also an information item, County Road 14, Witt Road, proposed permanent turtle fencing installation. Representatives of the Shaw subdivision have a requirement for their development that off-site turtle mitigation protection measures be installed as part of the approval process for their site plans. To achieve this, the representatives have proposed design and construction of permanent turtle mitigation fencing along County Road 14, Witt Road, approximately 30 meters south of Loxley Road, as illustrated on the map attached as Appendix CW2. County staff have met with the development representatives to discuss their conceptual plan for the turtle fencing. County staff have set requirements that the fencing be installed as close to the edge of the right-of-way as possible, where water levels permit it, so as not to interfere with the maintenance operation and limit impact on future culvert replacements. The works to install the fencing will require a road occupancy permit, which will give staff the opportunity to review the final design prior to approval for construction. If approved to proceed, this project will be a benefit to the local turtle turtle population, as this is a high fatality area. Item number 3 is the Transportation Master Plan update. The development of the county's Transportation Master Plan is ongoing, with completion anticipated for late 2024 or early 2025. The gathering of information was recently completed with the conclusion of a public engagement undertaken by the county through Zen City. The results and submissions through the public engagement are included in the report attached as CW3, which has been provided to the consultant for consideration while developing the Transportation Master Plan. Further public input will be gathered as the recommendations are developed by the consultant, with public information centers planned for early summer 2024. And I'll pause there, Chair, before we move on to the resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Hanrath. I'll move back to information item number 1, Hydro 1 vegetation maintenance. Item number 2, County Road 14, Witt Road proposed permanent turtle fencing installation. And item number 3, the Transportation Master Plan update. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, resolutions. Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 4 is declaration of surplus land, County Road 62, Cumbermere Road, part of Lot 1, Concession 6 in the Township of Madawaska Valley. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends to County Council that the land identified as part of Lot 1, Concession 6 in the Township of Madawaska Valley and as illustrated on the attached sketch be declared surplus to the needs of the County of Renfrew.
Thank you for that. Can I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from Laurentian Valley, seconded by Warden Emo. Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, I'll summarize some of the background here. So we have a wide right-of-way, as this road was a former MTO highway, and a property owner has come forward asking if they could purchase some of the property from us. We don't have any permanent infrastructure in that area, and the land being requested isn't required for widening at a future stage. So at this time, staff do feel that the land could be surplused.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 5, bylaws, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 5 is PWC 2024-07, rehabilitation of county structure B007 Butler Bridge. And the recommendation is that pending budget approval, the Operations Committee recommends that County Council approve contract PWC 2024-07 as submitted by Bonisher Excavating Incorporated, Renfrew, Ontario, for rehabilitation of county structure B007 Butler Bridge in the amount of $1,564,071 plus applicable taxes, and further that County Council adopt a bylaw to execute the contract.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from Horton, seconded by the member from McNabb-Brayside. Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, I'll summarize some of the background. As committee will see under the financial implications, the rehabilitation for this one is already over what is being proposed for the 2024 budget for this project. Though it is over budget, the recommendation is to proceed and then review the capital plan at a later date should tenders continue to come in at a higher cost than anticipated. Delaying this one wouldn't realize any savings, as we did issue the tender very early and received, as committee can see, 10 bids that were relatively close in price, so it is considered to be competitive. At this time, staff is recommending to proceed, but we will be bringing forward recommendations at a later date on the implications in the capital plan.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, I know that our estimates for these over the last year or so, we've increased those estimates by somewhere around 30%, and now we're seeing these tenders, or this tender, coming in at significantly higher than that. I think we saw some relief last year in some of the paving contracts that we went out with, but I'm hoping that this isn't a trend that we're seeing in 2024. Mr. Kelly.
So I need to say it. I mean, this is when Minister Hanrath brought it to us. Obviously, there was a conversation because this is almost $500,000 over budget. That's, if we look at percentage of a levy, if we were to take it from the levy, that's 1%. Now, this is coming from our reserves and coming from our asset management plan to pay for these things, but ultimately, if this is a trend, as you say, Chair, which we will know probably in the next 2 or 3 months when we start launching all the other tenders, this will have an effect on other capital projects planned for this year. There is an aggressive capital plan of some $30 million. However, a $500,000 overage might mean a road doesn't get done. And I just think that it needs to be said, it needs to be pointed out. We've done our due diligence to do that, but Mr. Hanrath and Mr. Perkins, of course, are watching each project as it goes. And as suggested, we'll bring back, likely in Q2, possible implications to our asset management plan, given this overage and given its approval perhaps at the budget next week.
Yeah, understood. Anything further on item 5? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we'll move on to item number 6.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Item number 6 is culvert assumption, C338 McMahon Road Culvert. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council adopt a bylaw to amend Schedule B of Bylaw 1015, being a bylaw to consolidate all bylaws with respect to roads and bridges included in the county road system, to add county structure C338 McMahon Road Culvert to the county road system effective February 1st, 2024.
Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from Arnprior, seconded by the member from Laurentian Valley. I think we've seen this before, but some background, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, I'll summarize some of the background here. As committee may recall, this now structure came forward at previous meetings. In June of 2023, the resolution OPCC 230677 was passed that County Council approved the assumption of McMahon Road Culvert on McMahon Road, 0.18 kilometers east of Fergusley Road in the Township of Admaston Brumley, and further that costs for the design and construction on McMahon Road Culvert be shared equally between the County of Renfrew and the Township of Admaston Brumley, and further that staff be directed to complete the design for the replacement of McMahon Road Culvert and present 2023 budget implications at a future meeting. The design, as committee may recall, was completed and was approved to be budgeted last year. Construction was undertaken by the county's day labor forces. We are in the process of billing back to Admaston Brumley for half the design and construction costs. But at this time, as construction has been completed and the new culvert is in good condition, we'd like to proceed with assumption as a county structure.
Thank you for that. Comments or questions? Seeing none, I will call a question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Now we will move along to the Operations Division report. Mr. Perkins, please. Can be found on page 95.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And as Operations Manager, Mr. Bolduc was unavailable today, so I'll be filling in. You'll have to bear with me. So item number 1 here is the winter operations. So the early portion of the 2023-2024 winter season has brought relatively mild conditions, including rain, freezing rain, a few significant snow events in areas, light snow and relatively mild temperatures. So Table 1 provides a summary of those events and the material usage and precipitation amount for those months of November through December. The table also provides a summary of the type of events which were responded to, as well as the type and amount of material used during the response. Item Table 2 outlines the significant weather events declared to date for the winter season, and staff, of course, continue to be ready. Just some clarification on our significant weather events. As you know, the County of Renfrew is the largest county geographically in Ontario. So one of the things that the ministry has allowed us to do is declare a significant weather event. Interestingly enough, the very first one, of course, at that time, the significant weather event caused much grief south of Renfrew. So, but still, we do a significant weather event for the entire county. So sometimes I'll get a call from Laurentian Hills or from Deep River saying, why did we do that? But that's the rationale behind it. It's got to be county-wide. It's not a select geographical area. Now, a municipality, McNabb Braeside, for example, you guys can declare it for your particular municipality. So for us, when we declare it, it's across the county. So just for clarification. Then item number 2. is quotes and tenders for 2023. So here, as you'll see below, is the tender summary for the months of November and December, and these were awarded under the authority of myself or the Chief Administrative Officer, and all amounts exclude applicable taxes. So from PWO 2023-09, snow blades and equipment, the quote was awarded in 3 parts for a total of $69,425.10. Valley Blades of Waterloo, Ontario, QC Canada of Surrey, British Columbia, and White's Wear Parts of Peterborough, Ontario. All items are now delivered and in stock and are for use for the snowplow operations. PWO 2023-33 was a light-duty pickup truck. This tender was awarded to Surgeoner, Chev, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, Ottawa of Ontario in the amount of $55,899. In 2023, we budgeted only $42,000 for these trucks, and as you know from your own municipalities, all these light-duty trucks have increased substantially. But what we did last year in 2023, if committee will recall, we halted the purchase of a offset roller, a shoulder roller. So that money that's still remaining from that will offset the extra cost for the truck. Item C, it was a request for quotations for a forestry head. So a quotation from Empire Attachments in Bainville, Quebec for a 2023 Dennis CIMAF DAH125D forestry head in the amount of $63,200 plus applicable taxes was approved. And the budgeted amount for this was $50,000. So again, we're using savings from not purchasing that offset roller to compensate for this overage. And then finally was PWO 2023-13, which was a vibratory drum roller. We had 2 bids on this one from Tormount in Canada and from Terra Pro Construction in Stittsville. The submissions were requested through the Canoe program, and the contract was awarded to CAT Command in the amount of $57,12,150, and we do have money in our budget for that. Item 3 is municipal cooperation. We're always proud to say that we're helping out our municipal partners. So Township of Whitewater Region, the Operations Division received a request to borrow the float trailer to transport their sidewalk machine for a few months as theirs required replacement. So the township is in process of purchasing a new one. So we loan them ours, and standard indemnity agreement. We do not charge for the loaning of equipment. We just make sure that you carry the proper insurance. And item B is with our municipal partners at the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan. We received requests that they required a tandem plow truck, and we do have a spare unit in our inventory that we use more than we would like to. But anyways, we do have it available. So we loan it to the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan, and again, standard indemnity agreement for insurance. Item 4 is the 2024 municipal supply and service. Staff are in the process of preparing tenders for a variety of procurements related to municipal maintenance, materials, and services of roadway operations. So a letter has been circulated to all our local municipalities advising them of planned tenders and providing them with an opportunity to participate. And then item number 5 is disposal of surplus vehicles. The following is a list of items sold through public auction and the amount at which they were sold. So we sold a 2013 Dodge Ram for $4,600, a 2014 Dodge Ram for $7,400, and a 2015 Chev Silverado 1500 for $4,650. And again, all these are offered to the lower tier municipalities prior to us putting them on the Gov Deals or whatever other procurement process we use, but we always offer them to the lower tier first. So thank you, Chair. That concludes the.
Thank you for that, Mr. Perkins. I will move back to information item number 1, winter operations. Any comments or questions? Item number 2A, the snow blades and equipment. Item 2B, the light-duty pickup truck. Item 2C, the forestry head. Item number D, the vibratory dual drum roller. Item number 3, municipal cooperations. Item A, the Township of Whitewater Region, and B, the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan. Item number 4, the 2024 municipal supply and services. Mayor Emo, Warden Emo.
Thank you. Quick question, have we ever given any consideration to changing the colors of our trucks to white so that, because I have the impression that red is more expensive and we might get better uptake when we send out these requests? And there's a
Did you want
There's a
me,
longer
did
term,
you
but-
want me to answer that? Mr. Perkins, I don't know.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to Warden. No, actually, that's never been a direction to staff as of yet. We've been keeping with the red trucks as they've been the brand for a long time. But yes, if we did receive direction from staff or from council to purchase white trucks, that would be entertained for sure.
Outside of the increase in uptake for resale, is there a difference in cost between a white truck and a red truck? I wasn't aware of that, but.
I do know from a study done by the RCMP a number of years ago when the RCMP changed from blue and white police cars to all white, that it was a humongous savings at that time. And I'm not sure, my understanding is white trucks are more available, obviously, because they come out of the factory of white. And sometimes we do pick a factory red color that is very close to the County Renfrew red color. But I would have to look further to make sure that the savings is there. But as far as I know, I believe white are more available. How's that?
Okay. Anything further? Warden Emo.
So, having given this a lot of thought, and with all of the GPS equipment that we have on board now at this point, I think one of the problems I suspect with shared services has been nobody wants to see a red truck on the road. And so we do have red trucks that lift their blade and go 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers and turn down and do another road. Or we have yellow trucks doing that on county roads, or we have blue trucks, or whatever the other colors are. And I think if they're all white, it might make scheduling a little easier. And with GPS, when you drop the plow for 4 kilometers, at the end of the year, there's a reconciliation of cost of, you've done 87 kilometers on my road and I've done 68, so there's a reconciliation. So I think part of it is to get the trucks cheaper if they're white. And then the other thing is to break through these silos of a yellow truck or a blue truck or a red truck on a brown truck route and try and get some savings by having some synchronicity between plow schedules. Because I think we're at a point now where we can bill each other with some degree of accuracy, but I think the idea of a red truck going down a white truck route will just tighten the sphincter on a number of municipal politicians, and I'm not sure we want that.
Mr. Kelly.
I want to follow the sphincter comment, but that's fine. Maybe what I could ask is a direction given to staff. Maybe to have this conversation with the Renfrew County Road Supervisors Association that Mr. Perkins, Mr. Hanrath, I think Mr. Balduke attend, and with their colleagues along the municipalities, and start the conversation, and see what the comments are. So, I mean, I think because it's direction to staff, maybe we'll just entertain. It's an interesting one to put in the minutes. Maybe a motion to direction to staff from this committee.
Warden Emo.
I'd make that motion that our staff have a conversation at the road supers level to have discussion about one color of truck and specific specs for vehicles to try and coordinate tenders.
Staff direction, do I have a seconder for that? A member from Laurentian Valley, all those in favor? And that's, okay, before I count the vote, member from Armpire.
Just a comment that when you're doing your research, you might want to call Armpire because we have all white fleet from the yellow ones that we used to have. Thanks.
You could call Deep River. I think we have 3 different colors. all including one red one, I do believe. All those in favor? That's carried. I think that was item number 4 and 5 combined. Sure. I think we're going to move on to item number 9, which is our budget deliberations, and I'm going to suggest that we take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at 2:35. 12-minute break. Welcome back, everyone, and call the meeting back to order, and we'll move on to the item that was severed, item number 9, resolution, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that the draft 2024 Public Works and Engineering Department budget be forwarded to the January 24th, 2024 budget workshop as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Warden Emo, seconded by the member from Horton. Just to note that this is essentially an information item. There's no decision point for us to make. We'll certainly probably have more fulsome discussion in the budget workshop, but we'll certainly get the information from staff so that we can integrate the operations budget into the entire county budget at the workshop. So I'll pass this over to Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And first off, I would really like to thank the managers and of course, our admin staff, Evelyn and Cecily and Mel, for putting this together for us. We'll start it with Mr. Kelly's comments, and then we'll move into Mr. Burke. He'll give us an introduction into it, and then hopefully I can walk you through our proposed 2024 draft budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee again. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Mr. Perkins, for thanking all the managers and directors and admins that have been involved so far, and of course Daniel for today's budget presentations. Of course, you've heard me say this already once today, but for the benefit of this committee and those watching, budgeting is about choices. And when we set out last fall to build our budget, it became very apparent that this budget would be a tough one. Some of the decisions made mid-year and just after the budget would have long-lasting implications. So, as you've already heard today in committee, that the cost of business has increased, and likely beyond the targeted levy increase that you've suggested that we try to achieve today. However, we've presented to you and will be presenting to you a series of apples-to-apples comparisons on our operational budget, and I believe as well addressing some of the pressures we have in our capital budget moving forward too. So throughout the week, it's going to be staff's best efforts to continue providing the equivalent level of service that you're used to, and applying the pressures of the financial realities of today. You'll also be presented with a series of enhancements that our operations are required to look at and perhaps achieve based on some of the initiatives that you've suggested that we move forward on. So we have a number of new operational needs as well, and our divisions are adapting to this new reality. So again, budgets are about choices, and as we head towards the budget workshop next week, you will be presented with these choices, as the chair has already suggested, and some easier than others. And that will be need to be assessed in order to achieve your target goals. And Mr. Burke is going to run through how we will get to that level of levy increase for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, and good afternoon, Operations Committee. Like the CAO, I'm going to repeat myself from this morning. So I'm going to take a few minutes and talk about the format of your budget before I turn it back over to Director Perkins to go through the detailed departmental slides. So on the PowerPoint in front of you now, we have our budget guidelines. The first one, the most important one, is a target of a 3% levy increase. And that's going to be our goal over the next few days to show how we're going to get to that number. The second one involves your non-union staff cost of living increase, and that number is 4.79% based on the calculation found in that resolution. There's a bit of an added pressure coming out of Public Works that has to do with the mid-year adjustment for the Gallagher report, specifically for the Public Works operators. That is adding a significant pressure in there as well. And the third resolution is a carryover from our November 9th special meeting on asset management and the long-term financial plan. Mainly that we present a budget that includes a modified or slightly reduced asset management plan and an enhanced reserve contribution, in an attempt to balance our long-term financial plan over the next 10 years. Could you change my slide? Thank you. So the budget format, if I can begin on the right-hand side with those columns, you have 5 years worth of actual financial data. Then you have 3 columns for various percentage and absolute dollar variances from the 2023 budget to the proposed 2024 budget. Then you have that blue colored column, and that is your 2024 baseline budget. So what would it cost to do exactly what we're doing now into the 2024 year? That's the number we're looking at. The next column to the left is our pressures column, and that's what our staff's proposals for items we cannot do in order to meet the council target of 3%. The next column to the left is our 3% budget. This is the budget that does meet County Council's target of 3%, so it incorporates the baseline budget and the adjustments in that pressures column. And then out on the far left is the enhancements column, or are there any service level increases that this committee would like to consider going into the 2024 year. Moving along. New this year, we have a slight change to our budget format in that we've ranked our pressures or our cuts from level 1, level 2, and level 3. So those level 1 items are things that we can implement right away with minimal service level interruptions. So those are the items that staff would feel would be the easiest. Level 2, those orange colored items, are items that we can implement with minimal service level disruptions, except that they're temporary or one-time solutions, or in the case of Public Works, they involve shifting costs down onto the lower tiers. So from a taxpayer point of view, really a nothing, just pushing costs from one to the other. Level 3 items are items that are hard choices and service level reductions. Those are those items. And if you could advance me one more. Thank you. Just my other comment is slightly different from last year. We are attempting to meet that 3% levy target on a county-wide basis. So you'll notice that in a number of committees or departments, they're not meeting that 3% target. We're taking the global approach, and staff stepped back and said, where can we make the cuts that make the most sense across the organization, as opposed to in isolation forcing each department down to that 3% target. So that's why you'll see the Public Works Department does not meet a 3% target. It's 7.4 even after those pressures. But across the organization, we can meet that 3%. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Director Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Burke, and through you, Chair, to committee. We start here on the Operations Committee, Public Works Administration. As Daniel alluded to, the Gallagher report, which increased our costs for our operations staff, well-deserved increase, I might add. As you can see, it's a $50,000 pressure to us. So in order for us to meet the 3% target of 1.2, we would actually have to cut $50,000. So we'd have to roll back a number of initiatives that we've done, potentially in our engineering department, where we've brought on new staff. So that would be a significant decrease in the service that we've hoped to move forward with, in-house design and that sort of thing. We're also proposing a potential, as you'll see in a couple of slides later, a potential recovery of $50,000 in which we would share the actual repair and maintenance costs of the fire radio system that we currently have in place. And with that said, as you can see through the 2024 budget baseline, of doing the targeted budget, which was 1.2, we're actually looking at a $50,000 more to get to that 3.3%. And as Daniel alluded to, our actual cost is 7.4%. So that's Public Works and Administration. Just to give you a brief on it, we have 5.5 full-time staff, which includes the Director of Public Works, plus 50% shared admin services. We currently share our admin, our Evelyn with Development and Property. And that was a significant change in staff due to full year effect of operations last year during the reorganization. If committee will recall, we made a proposal in the 2023 budget to bring forth a number of techs, a designer, and a engineering tech. So, sorry, Taylor? Yes, and an operations coordinator. So last year, we phased them over the whole year. We didn't bring them all on at the beginning of the season. We brought them on halfway through, and then the rest of the complement came on at Q4. So now, of course, it's now a full hit to our budget. So one of the suggested ways to reach the target levy was a level 2, as Daniel pointed out, was an orange, which was a cost share of the first of the fire radio system repairs and maintenance. Sorry, there's a typo there. Costs with the municipal partners who are using the system. So currently our estimated radio repair costs are around $78,000 a year. Of that, 3/5 of it is estimated for the fire system. So we would actually go back and recover that from our partners. Operations Committee, Public Works, Capital Works. And Taylor can actually speak to this for you if you have questions when we go along. But right now, the cost of our public works, as I alluded to, was 3 full-time staff, 3 student junior engineering techs, and they come in for the summer only. And significant changes in staff due to the full year effect of the operations. So again, going from when we brought them in 2023 over a 6-month period, now we are dealing with them on a full ongoing cost basis. And of course, infrastructure management includes our OSIM, which is our bridge inspections at $140,000. And we are currently pressured for $100,000 in our transportation master plan, which, as you may recall, is a 2-year program for us. Under the Public Works maintenance, so right here we have 4 patrol yards. Each one has a full-time supervisor and 6 full-time operators plus 1 full-time sign shop operator. And of course, we have a casual staff and summer staff that come on. And our recoveries, as shown in this table, are from the sign shop and insurance recovery. So again, I have to thank our admin assistant, Evelyn Van Starkenberg, she's actually taken up the cause to track down these insurance images that we have when people hit a light pole or hit a guardrail, and it is very onerous to go through the MTO system to get that information. So thankful to Ev that we're actually receiving recoveries from that. Operations Committee, Public Works Equipment. So again, here in 2024, the target was 1.567, and we've been able to maintain that at 1.567. In 2023 budget was 1.48, so the variance here is 80%, so 5.4%. As you'll see, the transfer from capital reserves and then the transfer from reserves for this equipment, and it is a capital cost. So the cost to our public works equipment is 3 full-time mechanics, and the salary allocation for the mechanic time spent on paramedic services. So paramedics reimburse us for 1/3 of our mechanics. He's a gentleman that works in the county or in the Renfrew cab building, and he services the ambulances for us. He is cross-trained, as well as our 2 mechanics are cross-trained. So if one of them is off sick or anything like that, we can actually, our guys can go look after an ambulance, or the ambulance guy can come look after a plow truck. So it's a very excellent relationship. Recoveries are for the allocation of fuel used by the construction crew. So again, as we alluded to earlier, our day labor crew that does work in the summer, all our billing for those gentlemen and their materials and equipment comes back to a capital cost. So you won't see that in the operating budget. We did assume a 5% increase in fuel and operating costs for the development of this budget for 2024. This year, under our capital purchases, we're hoping for 12 large pieces of equipment, which include 8 light-duty trucks, 1 medium truck, 4 heavy trucks, 2 tractors, 1 loader, and again, 4 trailers. So that's spread out over the entire fleet. The Operations Committee in Housing. So as you see here from the breakdown, this is what each patrol costs us. So Whitewater's patrol, when you're traveling Highway 17, you see it there on the side of the highway at Whitewater intersection. Cobden is on Cobden Road. Goshen, of course, is down off Lockwoodnock Road. And of course, our Southwest Patrol is in Palmer. So one of the things we're looking at here is doing a $75,000 site condition condition. So over the past number of years, we have not done this. We've excluded it. We've always offered it up in the budget, but we seem to have dismissed it at later on, as it is a $75,000 hit, and we are looking at it as an enhancement to our budget for us to go ahead and do site assessments on these particular sites. So operating costs for the property and buildings at the 4 patrol guards. The capital repairs for, of course, these buildings are, right now we're offering up $50,000 for concrete gutter and grates at the Cobden main building. There's $65,000 in repairs and cladding to the Cobden storage sheds. Concrete rehab at Goshen Patrol. Concrete rehab at Southwest Patrol. And, of course, concrete rehab at Whitewater Patrol. And of course, as I alluded to, the suggestion here to get us to reach the target levy is a level 2 reduction, which is the site condition assessments of a total of $75,000. And amongst ourselves and staff, we can certainly defer them for another year or so, but as you know, the more we defer, then the less we find out what we need to fix. And then when we do finally do a site assessment, we may be hit with a much larger number later in life, but it can be deferred. Public Works capital construction, as Craig alluded to, we're looking for a very ambitious capital works program this year of $36.5 million, $36.6 million actually. 2023, we budgeted $31 million. So this is an actual increase of 18% from last year. And again, during questions, Taylor can allude on this a little bit further. You'll see on the next slide that this is where we have capital construction. We have 6 full-time staff and 4 contract staff. Funding for most of this obviously comes from reserves, but we do get some from the Canada Building Fund. OCIF, which our 2024 allocation is 2.38, which is almost $400,000 less than it was in 2023. We are debenturing the Foymount 512 road project. And of course, as you know, most of our capital money comes from the transfer from TCA, and that's a $29.4 million transfer. And of course, we do get revenues, a miscellaneous amount from the Aggregate Resource Act of $100,000. Important to note is here's our schedule of projects for next year. And as you can see from Butler Bridge, which we had 1.4 identified, and we come in at 1.8. So we're hoping that that's not going to be a trend, but we will come back, as the CAO just explained to you, in Q2 with hopefully good news that the prices got better. But if we don't have good news, we'll be back to tell you which projects we're going to have to possibly pass for this year. So Operations Committee from November 9th continued. So this here was that the County Council recommended that the draft asset management plan and long-term finance plan be returned to a future session of County Council with updated 2023 financial impacts. And further, that County Council recommend that the 2024 draft budget be presented with the asset management plan and long-term financial plan with consideration to option 3, which is presented to include a range of potential scenarios. So if you'll recall that from November 9th, one of our scenarios was to dedicate a capital levy based on growth, and this requires an increase in the levy contribution to the capital of $2.86 million. So this is a 4% levy increase alone, and that's before considering any levy increases for operational costs. So also from that November 9th meeting, we decided that the pavement condition index, which we were trying to maintain at a 71 over a 10-year, was it?
Target
72. Our target PCI was 72. So we realized that by looking at the 10-year capital plan that we weren't going to have enough money to keep the roads at that level. So we've actually decided to lower the PCI to 66.9, which theoretically that's what it will reach in 2033 to make our capital plan work for 2024 and 2025. And Mr. Burke can actually, and Mr. Taylor can actually give you some more information on how we have adjusted the asset management plan to make all that work. But the important thing to note is, as you can see here, with a 4% increase in levy, if we don't increase the levy over the next number of years, there's the potential that we are going to run out of money in our capital reserves. And then we will not be able to sustain our 10-year asset management plan. So Mr. Burke and Mr. Taylor, Mr. Hanrath can take you to that. And then, of course, this also will have effect on the county in DMP with the Renfrew County Housing Corporation buildings and how they're going to maintain their facility condition index as well. So the asset management plan and long-term financial plan that was proposed on November 9th required removing, this is what we actually did, was required move 43 million from the 10-year capital plan. So what that does is takes our PCI in 2023 and will continue a downward trend. So this is the list of roads that we deferred at a total of $5.4 million to make this asset management plan work for the next 2 years.
Just 2024 deferrals.
Sorry?
This is just deferrals from 2024.
Yes, sorry, this is just deferrals for 2024. So when we come back next year, there may possibly be more deferrals. So it's a bit of a juggling act on how this is affecting our long-term asset management plan. So in 2024, Taylor and his staff have deferred 1.4 million in bridge repairs, and we've deferred 1.8 million in culvert repairs. And again, once questions come time after this, we can discuss which ones were deferred and why they were deferred, and how we decide on which ones to defer. And then finally is, as you know, Operations Committee is now taking responsibility for the trails. So obviously that comes with an effect for obviously operations, maintenance, and capital costs. So the trails are one full-time staff. Capital is remaining at 3.53 with the donation of 34,000 in cash. The Algonquin Trail development and maintenance consists of core maintenance programs of 200,000. There's 2.2 million in federal active transportation spending, which is 65% funded. $200,000 in the ICIP grant fund, and 1.3 million is remaining in the accelerated work to stone dust. So funding here is, of course, is a donation in kind from CP Rail for land, which was 3.5 million. Federal active transportation grant is 1.4 million. The provincial ICIP grant was 200,000, and the external lease revenue was 30,000. And then, of course, we do transfer from reserves of 2.19. And that concludes our budget, draft budget. We definitely would like to have some questions and some thorough discussion. Please.
Okay. Where to begin? Let's start with the member from Empire.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't see in there the savings we have for having an engineering officer. That in the past we used to farm all this stuff out, and now we have our own guy that can do the designing.
Mr. Henrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the councillor from the town of Empire. So we have reduced our design costs because we are moving forward with internal staff design. You may note that some of the culvert structures have only $18,000 allocated to them. That's based on internal design. It would be at least double that if we were going with consultants.
So I think we will see those savings ongoing as projects move forward. Mr. Perkins.
And if I may, Chair, we've been tasked to bring back a report in two years to County Council with explaining our savings. So.
Okay, further comments? Member from McNabb-Rayside.
Don't need to bring it up, but thank you, Chair. That list of roads that are deferred for a year, like, is that a one-time adjustment that's going to carry on, or is that likely to be a growing list each year? Because, I'll just ask it on that basis, but one of the details I'm looking for is at what point does pushing back increase the cost of fixing that road if it's gone past a certain point?
I'll push this over to Mr. Henrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the councillor from McNabb-Rayside. So as the slide noted, we have to cut approximately $43 million from the 10-year plan. The deferrals that are listed are just the cuts from the 2024 version of the plan that was presented in November. So these aren't necessarily only deferred 1 year. These are just the projects that we cut from that 2024 column in the asset management plan back in November. Staff will be presenting a new version of the asset management plan with these $43 million worth of cuts throughout the plan at a later date. I hope that answers the question.
Supplementary?
Yeah, it answers the first part, but the second part was, we're running into this at our township where we seem to be stuck into this circle of reconstruction. If we were in a circle of rehabilitation, we'd have twice as much kilometers that we could do every year. When we're constantly fixing only the worst roads, then we're all, paying double. And I'm just wondering if we're in danger of slipping into that at some point, and maybe you can't answer that until you redo the plan, in which case I'd be happy to ask it again later. But
Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the councillor from McNabb-Braeside. So our focus when updating the 10-year plan is to still stick with our best practices. That's microsurfacing within 10 years of the road being reconstructed, overlaying in the correct timeline. However, where we'll see significant changes is when the pulverize and paves, the basin surfaces, the reconstructions occur. Chances are our roads are going to get in much worse condition before we actually do those types of works. So the bad roads will get worse, but the goal is to keep the good roads as good as possible for as long as possible.
Okay, thank you for that. Member from Arnprior.
Thank you, Chair. Would we consider saving money by not putting the shoulders on? That was our new policy last year, that we put 1 meter, 2 meters on the new side, so it would save the regular road. But if we can save a ton of money by narrowing that down by a foot or whatever, I'm not an engineering guy, but for savings money.
Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the councillor from the town of Arnprior. That is something that staff could take under consideration. There would be a savings. However, reducing from that 1 meter width doesn't necessarily give us the improved safety that we're seeing from paving the 1 meter wide, or necessarily the same maintenance benefits that we'd see from the edge break and things like that.
And just point out that, so the widening of that road, we saw lots of demonstrations of how that will save us money in the future if what we're doing, lowering the pavement condition index and a couple other steps that potentially are going to impact us long term. I don't know that we want to hit ourselves long term with another part of the work that we do. Supplementary from Arnprior.
I think, Chair, it has really nothing to do with the operations, I guess, but development charges is still out there somewhere that could help out with some of our expenses. Just a comment. Thank you. As I look at the warden.
Warden Emo.
Thank you very much. I fully expect we'll be having a very fulsome discussion on development charges, likely in March, because to get through budget in January, reset in February, and then have that conversation in March. Because as you know, we're gonna have an annual report card on or about October or November on our asset management plan every year, and so, I think we will have to have that conversation. But yeah, I'd mentioned that I think in December that it was going to be moved from Mr. Perkins to myself. So.
And we thank you for that.
Yeah, I imagine.
So, as mentioned earlier, this is a kind of a review for us to get a flavor on the budget and where we're going at, and certainly have more conversations on a lot of things in the budget workshop, taking into consideration the entire picture for the county of Renfrew and not just each division as individually. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So just to answer the development charges question, these wouldn't be eligible because these aren't growth-related projects. Now, we did hear earlier today that perhaps we don't have to rebuild a bridge in Petawawa. So, I mean, that's a growth-related project that the monies wouldn't go towards. So, I mean, that would be ineligible, but the warden's answered that question. I do want to raise the point, though, however, based on our delegation today, that one thing was not in here is the enhancements or those pressures as relayed to us of $3.6 million for a Murphy Road redo. Then it gets into weird things, because if we're spending $3.6 million, then we get into a debt financing because it meets that threshold. And then if we're going to debt finance something that we turn over later on, it's a whole long conversation still to have. But again, those are conversations, to the chair's point, that well, I guess there'll have to be a motion or some suggestion next week to consider, because there's been no recommendation from staff to consider a $3.6 million project today. And I'm assuming the council member from Petawawa will have to bring up to be included, or at least discussed at next week's budget workshop, because again, it's not included in this capital works plan for this year at that amount. So that will have to be discussed and debated in full next week. As would, I guess, Butler Bridge, I guess, if that's not going to happen too. But anyway.
Yeah, thank you for that. So just back on that point, so was the Murphy Road rehabilitation, is that in the budget as we had it before? So, Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. Currently, we have it earmarked for $1.538 million in the budget. And this number was developed based on our benchmark cost for reconstruction with nominal storm sewer replacement. Now, we don't do a lot of urban reconstruction, so that benchmark cost may not be as accurate as it is for some of our rural roads, but it's still substantially more than what we would have allocated if it was just a pulverize and pave with a rural cross-section.
But, okay, fair enough, because we don't have urban roads. So, yeah, fair enough. Member from McNabb, Brayside.
Thank you, Chair. As I was going through these numbers, I was just curious, on page 27, there's a big drop from 20 to 21 that seems to be maintained in the operations committee. I was just wondering if somebody could, if there's some sort of trend that happened. Goes from 16, 14, 15 million down to 8, 9, 10 sort of thing.
I don't know the answer to that. Does staff know?
If maybe there was some sort of, structural change or something.
Mr. Burke.
I'd have to research the matter further, but my initial thought process is that around that time we switched from, we used to directly levy a component of the capital works into the component of the capital projects we used to directly levy for, rather than finance it all through a reserve contribution, which would be levied for inside the Finance and Admin Committee, and then transferred over to operations. So I believe there was a structural change in how we finance the capital around that time, but I would have to confirm that thinking with someone who was actually here at the time.
Okay, supplementary.
That's adequate.
Okay.
I figured it was something like that. But my bigger question though is last fall we were talking about this 4% number for reserves and capital reserves and shoring that up, and D&P, it's not a big part of that obviously, but it obviously is here. Is that the number that's included in this in terms of there's a lot of numbers, but has that number changed significantly in these documents since the fall? That component of the big picture of meeting that 10-year capital plan.
Mr. Burke.
Yes, so the resolution coming out of November 9th was to incorporate that that midway, I guess, direction to reduce your capital plan by a bit and increase your funding by a bit to make the long-term capital plan work. So in this committee, you have the cuts side of the equation, that reducing the long-term capital plan by some 40 million over 10 years. In the F&A committee, you have the other side where we increase the capital contributions by that 4%. So there hasn't been a substantial change from November. Those are still the same principles. You're looking at half of it inside this committee, and on Thursday we're going to discuss the other half and how that now funds the long-term capital plan based on the assumptions we had.
Okay. Member from Renfrew.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Just out of the blue, can we increase our day crew to do more projects that'll save money from the contracting people? Just, I see that we have an advantage with our day crew doing all kinds of culverts, and instead of farming them out, if we had a bigger crew, that we could do more culverts at a bigger savings. Just a thought, thanks.
Sorry, Mr. Henrath.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the councillor from Town of Renfrew. It's something we've discussed, not thoroughly looked into, but it would basically require the doubling, having a full-on second crew in order to facilitate further projects being done.
Again, it's just a thought, but when you do the, excuse me, a process to say, like we did for the engineering officer, over time it'll save us a ton of money, and it'll be equal to, or even a profit at one point, but it's the initial outlay, I guess, would be to be the problem. Thanks.
Okay. Anything further from committee? Mr. Kelly.
So I have one point. As you begin your travels to Roma and you're looking for pieces of advocacy, Mr. Perkins glossed over it a little bit, but the province has withdrawn $400,000 from our OCIF. That's 15% reduction year over year. Now, I understand some municipalities may have benefited by our reduction, but that's a big chunk of money. And you know, Mr. Burke worked really hard to submit our asset classes and our list of assets that we have, which is how many millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets in there. And you can talk to how the OCIF is calculated if you could. But as you're talking to your peers, you know, that's a chunk of money. So if you look at just today alone, you heard a $400,000 reduction in OCIF, and we're almost $500,000 over on a bridge. So in a day, we're down $1 million on our capital projects, and with two topics, right? 2%, right? In one stroke. So, I mean, these are the pressures that we're now dealing with. Again, hopefully it's not a trend, but definitely OCIF. If that's a trend that we see another reduction in future years, then what? So again, I'll offer that up. But I don't know, Daniel, if you want to talk about OCIF just for terms of education for the members of committee as they enter Roma.
For sure. So this year is the first year we are working with a new OCIF calculation. Previously, it was always, the data was taken from Schedule 50 of your FIR, your actual costs for the core assets that you own. New this year, the ministry decided that they would take I don't want to say a poll, but it was essentially they asked for our replacement value of our core assets, which we duly estimated as best we could. It's a little tricky when you're estimating out full replacement values. That number totals up to something huge, like $500 billion for the County of Renfrew. It was a massive number. And we submitted that to the province, fully expecting that with this massive number, we would probably get a larger share of OCIF, having such a large asset base. The 15% reduction is actually the maximum reduction allowed under the formula. So I'm not sure how far down we are, but we're down as far as they'll let us go. And I know a number of our upper tier peers are in the same boat at that maximum 15% reduction. Beyond that, we are not entirely sure why the formula is telling us that, or who in the province is the big winner at our expense. We know that the formula also takes into account the average household net income of the county, as well as the population as compared to your weighted assessment via MPAC. I can't see either of those numbers being particularly out of whack for the county, so we really don't understand what happened to our allocation, other than it's quite a bit down. So if you are taking an advocacy item to the province, it's that we do not like this new funding formula.
Fair enough. Have we polled other municipalities in Renfrew County to see what the OCIF is? Because I believe Deep Rivers went up like $20,000.
Yeah, we haven't polled the municipalities yet. We did poll my East Ontario colleagues, and of the 13, 10 were, 2 are different because they're single tier. So I'll say 9 or 10 of them reduced almost to the 15%. Most of them are at 15%, some of them around 12.
Okay. So fair enough. Anything further on the budget? Member from McNabb Braeside.
Sorry, I was trying to type down everything Mr. Burke said because it's gold, but I had similar questions, but he said it takes into account average salary or average income, and I didn't get the second
Yes.
one.
There's a component that looks at the household income level of the average county household, and the second level is your population as compared to your weighted assessment via MPAC.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that. So I would think that Renfrew County might be on the lower end of those two, Deep River excluded, but anyway. Anything further on the draft budget that's been presented to committee today? Seeing none, I will call a question. All those in favor? And that is carried, so that will be moving forward to the budget workshop. I don't think I have a new business on my agenda, do I? So, no, I don't. Oh, yes, I do. Any new business? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to do that just after a couple more steps, but can I get a mover and seconder for the report as a whole? Moved by Warden Neiman, second by member from Laurentian Valley. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that is carried. Is there any new business by any members of committee? Seeing none, I don't believe there's any closed meeting for today. Date of our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 13th. And then budget workshops Wednesday the 24th, and if necessary, Thursday the 25th. County Council on January 31st. Seeing nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by the member from McNabb Braeside, seconded by the member from Arnprior. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.